My name is Emily. My world was once a sanctuary of light. It was a small house with a garden that whispered of dreams we planted together, my husband, Mark, and I. We painted every wall with laughter. We tilled the soil with our bare hands and our shared hopes. That house was our living, breathing promise. It was our everything. When my father left this world, a profound and chilling silence settled into my mother Sarah's life. I could hear the echo of it through the telephone line, a hollow sound that made my soul ache. "The silence is so loud, Emily," she would say, her voice a fragile thread. My heart shattered for her. So I brought her into our home, into our sanctuary. Mark, ever the kind soul, opened his arms without hesitation. "She is your mother," he said, holding me close. "She is my family too." In that moment, I felt an ocean of gratitude for the man I had married. I believed we were her rescue, her soft place to land. The beginning was a beautiful, healing balm. My mother filled our home with the aromas of my childhood, her chicken soup, a potion of memory and comfort. Mark would taste it, and his eyes would close in bliss. "Sarah," he would murmur, "this is absolute heaven." And I would watch her smile, a genuine, radiant smile that seemed to chase the shadows from her eyes. I believed we had saved her. She revived our garden with a magic touch. Crimson roses and golden sunflowers burst forth under her care, as if obeying her silent command to be joyful. Mark would often stand at the window, watching her work. "Your mother is remarkable," he told me one afternoon, his voice filled with a quiet wonder. "Yes," I agreed, my heart swelling with pride. "She truly is. I was so blind." The change crept in like a twilight fog, subtle and insidious. First, it was the private laughter in the kitchen that would cease the moment I entered. A secret, sparkling world existed between them, and I stood outside its borders, a smiling stranger in my own home. Then, it was the evening walks. I was tired, often drained from the day, and Mark would gently insist I rest. "I'll take your mom," he'd say, his hand on my shoulder. A kindness, a betrayal. They would return with cheeks flushed and eyes bright, carrying the cool, fresh scent of the night and a shared energy that left me feeling ghostly and transparent. One evening, I forced myself to join them. The air between us turned to glass. Their easy conversation died, replaced by a polite and painful silence. We walked as a trio, yet I have never felt more alone. A chasm had opened, and I was on one side, while they stood together on the other. My birthday arrived, a day that once shimmered with pure, devoted love from Mark. He gave me a lovely scarf, but his touch was distant, his kiss a practiced ritual. Later, as my mother's perfect cake sat between us, he presented her with a small velvet box. "For you, Sarah," he said, his voice unbearably tender, "for making our home so bright." Her fingers trembled as she lifted the lid. Nestled inside was a silver locket, exquisite and delicate, catching the light like a tear. It was a jewel meant for a queen, not a daughter's simple scarf. "Oh, Mark," she breathed, her hand flying to her chest. "You shouldn't have." He smiled at her. It was the smile that used to be mine, full of warmth and intimate knowing. I sat there, a statue of ice, smiling while my heart cracked audibly in my ears. That night, I dared to question him. The locket was very expensive, Mark. His face hardened instantly. She is your mother, Emily. Why are you trying to ruin a nice gesture? The words died in my throat, replaced by a cold, sinking dread that took root in my bones. The late-night whispers began. I would wake to an empty bed and follow the faint glow of lamplight to the living room. There they sat, shrouded in intimacy, their voices a soft murmur I could not decipher. One night, I heard my mother laugh, a youthful, melodic sound I hadn't heard in decades. It was a sound of secret happiness. A wave of pure, unadulterated terror washed over me, freezing the blood in my veins. This was wrong. I confronted my mother in the garden, amid her triumphant roses. What is happening between you and Mark? Her face crumpled from calm into wounded outrage. How can you think such a thing? I am your mother. He has been a son to me. She wept, great heaving sobs that made me feel monstrous. I apologized. I held her. I drowned in guilt. But as I clung to her, the scent of her perfume, the same scent that clung to Mark's skin at night, wrapped around me, a truth I could no longer deny. I was disappearing in my own home. I became a spectator at my own dinner table, a silent phantom watching their shared world unfold. My opinions faded. My presence became an afterthought. She's just tired, my mother would answer for me whenever Mark bothered to ask if I was okay. And he would simply nod, accepting her explanation as gospel, his eyes already drifting back to her. I needed proof, or I would go mad. I found it on a rain-soaked afternoon, hidden in the bottom of my husband's drawer. A small wooden box. Inside, a folded letter in his familiar hand. My vision blurred as I read the words, "My dearest Sarah." He wrote of her eyes, her wisdom, of feeling truly seen. Emily is a child, he wrote, the letters swimming before me. You are a woman. I cannot live without you. The rain hammered the windows as I slid to the floor, the paper clutched in my numb fingers. Every suspicion, every whispered fear crystallized into this brutal, undeniable truth. The pain was a physical entity, a beast clawing at my insides. That evening, I summoned them to the living room. The air was thick with impending doom. I did not cry. I did not scream. My voice was a quiet, deadened thing. Are you in love with my mother? Mark's gaze fell to the floor, a confession in his silence. My mother's face went ashen. Emily, it's complicated, she stammered. It is not complicated, I said, my voice gaining strength from the furnace of my heartbreak. I placed the letter on the table between us. The clock ticked, a metronome counting the death of my old life. Mark finally spoke, his voice ragged. I'm so sorry, Emily. I never wanted to hurt you. My mother wept again. We never meant for this to happen. Their excuses were the buzzing of flies around a corpse. I want you to leave, I said, looking directly at my mother. Tonight. Her pleas were a distant noise. My heart had iced over. I felt nothing for her. Nothing. Then I turned to Mark, the architect of my paradise and my ruin. And you need to leave too. He simply nodded, defeated, and went to pack. The sounds of their departure, zippers, drawers, footsteps, filled the house like a funeral dirge. At the door, my mother tried to embrace me. I recoiled as if from a flame. "I love you, Emily," she cried. The words were dust. Mark stood in the doorway, a ghost of the man I loved. "I will always love you." I looked at him, at the empty shell of our future. "Goodbye, Mark." I closed the door, and then silence. A silence so profound it roared in my ears. I was alone in the ruins of my dream. The weeks that followed were a deep subterranean hell. The pain was a physical weight, crushing my chest, stealing my breath, my sleep, my will. I was a vessel of pure, shattered agony. But listen to me now. Listen carefully. The sun does rise again. It does. I began with the house. I painted over the memories, choosing a bold, sunlit yellow for the walls that had witnessed my betrayal. I tore my mother's roses from the earth, roots and all, and planted wild, resilient flowers in their place. I reclaimed my space, inch by painful inch. My friends became my anchors. They listened without judgment, held me when I cried, and slowly, they reminded me of who I was before I was a wife, before I was a daughter. I was Emily. Mark called. We met. He was older, diminished, filled with regrets. He said it was a mistake, a product of loneliness. He begged for forgiveness, for another chance. I looked at the man I had loved, and I felt a distant, profound sadness. "I forgive you," I told him, and I meant it. Forgiveness is not for them. It is the key that unlocks your own prison. But I cannot go back. The woman who loved you that way is gone. My mother sent a long letter filled with apologies and longing. I have not replied. Some wounds are too deep for words. They must heal in silence, from the inside out. Perhaps one day, but not today. My life is my own now. It is not the simple story I once lived. It is a story of survival, painted in stronger colors. I learned that I am enough, that I can withstand a hurricane and still stand. Sometimes, in the quiet of my yellow room, I feel a whisper of the old sadness. I miss the illusion I loved. But then I look at my wild, untamed garden, thriving under my own care, and I feel a peace that is entirely my own creation. I am okay. I am whole. Your heart may break, dear one. People you trust may fracture your world. This is the brutal price of living with an open heart. But you will also find a strength in yourself that you never knew existed. You will find joy in the rubble. You will rebuild. You can do this. Just keep going. One breath at a time. The sun will rise for you too. I promise.